Okay.
as part of the thing. Okay, I'm gonna call the meeting of the Board of Commissioners Finance Committee to order at 11:10. Would you please call the roll?
Hammond. Long.
Here.
Powell.
Here.
I believe Carl's running.
I have not heard from
Okay.
Chicopee.
Smith Charles.
She's here.
Wipert.
Here.
Hoffman.
Present.
Markham.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, next up, we have the Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone would join me. Pledge of allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next we have the approval of the previous minutes. I need a motion. Commissioner Long, supported by Commissioner Rahman. Any comments, changes, questions? Let's prompt the vote.
See if we all get it, hopefully, right? What's it say?
Say again.
Cavell just arrived,
Thank you.
bringing breakfast for
Okay, so mine came up, so we'll see if you get them now.
You should have
Thursday.
Girl Scout cookies.
If
Break
this
'em
crowd gets too rowdy, I might break them out, but if I don't bring them home, I might be in trouble
Did you
too,
go?
so.
Yeah.
I tried
ordered
to
them
promise
yesterday.
somebody that 6 boxes of cookies were coming home today and, yeah. We're good?
Yep. 6 yeas, 0 nays.
Next up is approval of today's agenda. Anybody have any additions, deletions?
I'll move that if you want.
Yeah, let's
Motion.
prompt the vote. Commissioner Long, supported by Commissioner Powell.
One moment.
Just trying to mix it up, Angie.
You fine.
5, 6, 7. 7 on the last one.
Hoffman.
Yes.
Powell.
You're refreshed.
Smith
See if they'll come
Charles.
up here next time.
Oh, she's not here. That's why. You're 6.
See if it will now, when you get over your next vote.
6 yeas, 0 nays.
6, 7. We have 7.
That should be 7.
We have 7.
I did vote.
Did you vote, Commissioner
Oh,
Rahman?
Rahman, I'm sorry.
Well, that's because people are coming.
Way the
He's
heck
not
down
on
at that
my
end of the
present.
table.
Right.
Oh. You can sign in.
I did.
Let's just make sure. Hold on. No, so that orange bar is gonna be at the bottom of your screen whenever you
Saying
join a
that
meeting.
people came in late, and it's
So we wanna
not
make
just
sure we
know our
do-
number.
Search, join meeting, remember that
Yep.
finance meeting
Yep.
wasn't available yet. So now you should be
That
good.
was in there, okay.
Thanks, Mike.
All right,
Did you wanna do a revote or did you already record the set unanimous?
Okay, on the minutes, Rahman.
Yes.
On the agenda, Rahman. Thank you.
okay,
Vote is 7-0.
all right. Next up, we have public comment. We have 3 minutes for anybody from the public who cares to address this group. If you're here for a topic that's on the agenda, you can wait until then, or you can address us before this. I know you and I had talked earlier.
I'll wait till the topic.
Okay, all right. Is there anybody else who wishes to address the Finance Committee in public comment? Seeing no one, I will close our first public comment.
Oh, there's the one
I'm sorry, there's one up there
I
online.
don't,
Mayor.
It's up to the chair, of course, and I
Okay.
think that the mayor of Farmington, though, may be here to discuss a specific item, so you might wanna let them know that they'll be
Right.
able to speak when that item comes up as well.
Yes, so Mr. LaRussa, you raised your hand as wanting to speak in public comment. You can do that, or you can wait till we take your item up a little later in the meeting, so your
Yeah,
choice.
the only comment I wanted to make is that myself and Sean Murphy, who's the chair of the Bicentennial Committee, are online, and we are here to support that agenda item, but more just an awareness raiser so that you do know that there are people here willing to speak on that topic when the time comes, if any of you should have any questions.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing nobody else, I'll close public comment at this time. Next up is communications. I'll take a motion to receive and file. Commissioner Hoffman, supported by Commissioner Wipert. If there's no comments or questions on any of these items, let's prompt the vote.
And just, I think,
Powell.
you know, okay. You know,
And Ramen.
Yes.
me, like, just like, you know.
You have 7 yeas, 0 nays.
All right, motion carries. Moving on to item number 8, the Office of the County Executive Recommendations. Item A, appointment to Chief Financial Officer position. I need a motion. Commissioner Powell, supported by Commissioner Raman. Good morning.
Morning. Good morning. Thanks, everybody, for the opportunity to present the county executive's appointment of Brian Leffler to be the county's chief financial officer and to ask that this committee vote to advance his nomination to the full board for approval next week. Just as a reminder for everybody, until recently, the director of the Department of Management and Budget also effectively served as the county's chief financial officer. So when Kyle Jen was here, he played both roles, but then in the fiscal year 24 budget, we created a separate standalone CFO position and a deputy CFO position, and that position also is the director of the Department of Management and Budget. So both of those will require board confirmation, and Brian will serve as the first CFO under this new structure. I also just want to take a second. Cheryl's here, and so since Kyle left, Cheryl stepped into the role of managing the department on a day-to-day basis as our interim deputy CFO. And she's just been amazing, terrific. Really, really appreciate everything, both personally and the whole team. So thank you, Cheryl.
Tell everybody my hair was red.
Yeah. That might have been me.
And no
causing
glasses.
a lot of those.
He didn't wear glasses either,
And
right?
glasses. She's just been fantastic. So you all have Brian's resume, and I don't want to go through every point. I'd like to make sure that Brian has an opportunity to talk about his experience, but you can see firsthand the depth of his experience in public finance over the years, working with the state, the county, including Oakland County notably, municipal governments and public schools, including the Pontiac School District. Most recently, Brian has served as managing director at Robert W. Baird Company, where, as I mentioned, he's been municipal advisor to Oakland County. Over that time, county executive, a leadership team, and several members of the board have gotten to know Brian and the quality of his work. And it's those 5 years of working directly with him, combined with his nearly 40 years of experience as leader in public finance, that give us great confidence that Brian's going to be a fantastic chief financial officer, helping to shape our financial strategy and ensure our long-term fiscal health and strong credit rating, advising the county executive and this board on all fiscal matters, making sure the county meets its fiduciary responsibilities, overseeing all the financial operations of the county, the Department of Management and Budget, purchasing, equalization, and working with our county treasurer. I see our deputy county treasurer over there. Working with our county treasurer at leading investor relations, our relationships with banks, creditors, and representing the county in its bond rating presentations with the rating agencies. So in short, we feel really lucky to have somebody of Brian's caliber, of his skills, his extensive background, subject matter expertise, to come into this position, and we're very excited. Maybe nobody more than Cheryl, but we're very, very excited to have him join us on March 4th, pending the board's confirmation of him. So with your permission, Commissioner Markham, I wanted to give Brian an opportunity to talk a little bit more in depth about his experience, why he's excited to join the county, and to take any questions that you might have.
Okay, welcome.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity and quite honored to be able to come back to Oakland County. I graduated from Birmingham Schools in 1980, moved up to Michigan State, got my finance degree, and my first job in government was being a Senate page, starting to go into see how the process of working with local units of government, seeing how essentially what you do here for the benefit of the county residents. From there, I moved over to the Michigan Department of Treasuries, and for those of you, I wrote manuals for local officials about summarizing state statutes. Worked on legislation to work in 2001 to refine the municipal finance code that impacts every local unit of government in Michigan. From there, got pulled out of Treasury, moved, as you saw on my resume, I started working for the broker dealers, and through the consolidation that had happened over the years, my goal at that time was to become a manager of a Michigan operation for public finance. Never really left Michigan, always stayed in Michigan, though with some of the companies I worked with, I did work in Baird, who was headquartered in Milwaukee. I did work with the state of Wisconsin on some of their initiatives as well. But being back here at Baird, it'll be essentially 15 years for me here. And as you can see, I've going from more of an underwriter to being an advisor our job here is to be your fiduciary, and that's been a great honor to make sure that your interests were my interest when I had represented the county. And with that, from the Great Recession forward, I've worked with all urban districts, pretty much on anything that was other than the Detroit bankruptcy or the school districts, but I've worked with the city of Highland Park, Benton Harbor schools, those who've had challenges, but at the same time here, having the contrast, say, of Oakland County with your AAA bond rating. One of the things that we are very conscious of is your relationship with the rating agencies and that what that means in terms of the criteria. I mean, the rating agencies do set up the sandbox of how you get to play. And the biggest thing is here to make sure you stay within that area. But also too, it's like, how is the relationship with local units of government from the lowest, from townships to city, villages, counties, all the way up to the Department of Treasury, or in this case, even to the governor's office. So with that, appreciate the opportunity to be invited here. And one of the things you'll find out from me is I do have a passion for local government. It's always been my passion. And actually, quite honestly, looking forward to probably coming back to Oakland County. I do live in Lansing. And the reason I went there was because I was having clients all over the state. So it was kind of the central spot. But the last thing I was going to say is I'll actually be closer to my younger son who lives in Detroit with his wife, and then closer to the airport so I can go fly and see my oldest one in New York City. So with that, I'd be more than happy to take any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I'll open it up to the commissioners. If anybody has anything they wanna say? So Commissioner Rahman, you had your hand up?
Yeah, not a question, but just a comment, welcome. I'm really excited, just even kind of going through the package, your resume, I was really impressed, and to hear Waldwell's story too, I think you come with a great background, a lot of experience. I'm very much a numbers guy, I enjoy working as vice chair of finance and look forward to working closely with you. As we get into my second round of budgets this summer, I'm sure there'll be a lot of stuff we'll end up doing together, so again, just welcome and I look forward to it.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner Cavell.
I saw in your bio, you're on the Parent Policy Council for RISD. One of your kids went there?
Yes, my oldest son went to the Rhode Island School of Design,
Yeah.
and one of the things that I had done to be closer to him, but I served as a co-chair for 6 years, and my goal there was to do institutional engagement, i.e. fundraising for the college. The second thing was have retention of parents year after year after year. So I was charged with making sure that when a parent came in the freshman year, I kept them all the way through their entire son or daughter's career. The one thing I take away from that RISD experience is I learned about critique. And critique is very important in the sense of helping one refine anything from presentations and things like that. It's not criticism, it's really to help a really good design. So I'm a big proponent of STEAM. So art and design is very helpful when going from STEM to STEAM. So, yeah, so thank you. Yeah, it was a great experience.
Anybody else? I have a couple of comments. One is, again, I want to really thank Cheryl. She has saved our bacon through the last many months, and I have really appreciated working with you, Cheryl, and I hope everybody understands what an asset she is and has been for us through this process. Also, you spent some time in Milwaukee, so did I. I like Milwaukee, so anyway. With that, if nobody else has any other questions or comments, we can go ahead and prompt the vote.
Did you vote? Did you get yours again? Oh, you did? Okay. Oh, sometimes I don't get it.
Oh, yeah, extra 15.
All right, motion carries. Welcome aboard.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
It's on to the
Appreciate
board
it.
next week.
See you next week. Thanks, commissioners.
Okay, item 9A, under Economic Development and Infrastructure Committee recommendations, the owner representative services for renovations to 31 East Judson and 5111 Woodward Avenue in Pontiac. I'll take a motion. Commissioner Charles, sorry. and supported by Commissioner Powell. And I think we have Sean Carlson, thank you very much. 3 meetings in a row. Only 1 cup of coffee, I'm losing it.
We know you know.
I'm
who
afraid
it
of the
is.
coffee pot, so I didn't get a second cup. All right, anyway, welcome, Sean, Mr. Carlson.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I appreciate it. I'm gonna apologize to some of the members who also serve on the ED&I committee because they've heard this presentation earlier, but I will try to make sure that I'm as brief as possible here. So I just wanna step back. I've been in front of this group a few times, giving you an update of the downtown Pontiac project. So let me again explain that we're looking at 4 different distinct projects here from an RFP perspective. Number 1 is the owner's rep. The owner's rep, as it is utilized in downtown Pontiac, is somebody who will make sure that our architect and engineers, as well as the company that we eventually select for construction management, stays on time and on budget. They're basically a contract compliance inspector. They are an extension of facilities that does that probably on campus on current projects. So they are the vendor. One thing I want to make sure that I didn't point out the last time, and it was stated in this bid process, that if you were selected as the owner's rep, you were not qualified to bid on the property development and the construction management. That would be a conflict of interest. So as a contract, if you happen to win. Now, there are vendors that bid and were not successful, and those unsuccessful bidders can certainly go after and pursue those opportunities now. But that wasn't stated previously in the ED&I committee. I want to make sure that I make that point clear. The second project that we've bid out already, matter of fact, our evaluation committee has already taken a look at. We've made it a recommendation. We'll be back in front of both of these committees, ED&I and Finance, probably within the next 30 days or so. And that is the architect and engineer, the urban planner, and the community engagement. That was wrapped up in one. There's actually a dual award that will be forthcoming on that project. The third project is the property development. So what is the property development? The property development is, in essence, the biggest portion has to do with the Phoenix Center Garage. It will be the demolition of the Phoenix Center Garage, and it will also be responsible for putting a new parking garage in place. It is our hope that we get property developers that are looking at the other vacant pieces of property, looking at the footprint that we have, looking at 51-111, and making a determination of what offering that they can offer the county. Quite frankly, we need to look at 51-111 as possibly selling that building, in part because we have blight in Pontiac. The Phoenix Center Garage is a blighted area, so it qualifies for a brownfield transformational project up in Lansing in MEDC. But in order for us to pull down at least $12 to $20 million in transformational project, we need to have a tax base there. If we own all that property, we will not have a tax base to pull down that. So that's why we're hoping in this property development that we get people engaged in that property. That's not the only blight down there. Lot 9 is blighted area too, and I'll just remind everybody, Lot 9 is not our responsibility. That is not part of what we're talking about, but that is a blighted area as well that needs to eventually be addressed. The fourth thing is the construction management project. The construction management project is 31 East Judson. It is the vacant building right now, 51-111. We have tenants, predominantly state of Michigan employees. Senator Peters also has an office in there. Laura has an office in there. That property is being managed by the Farbman Group currently, is managing those tenants in that activity. Again, we currently have a lease for the Phoenix Garage. So we are hopeful that the state of Michigan will make their $5 million payment to the city of Pontiac. Once Pontiac receives that money, it is their intention to discharge the debt on the Phoenix Center and at that point in time convey a deed over to Oakland County. Once we receive that deed and once we have ownership of that property, we will then put out the property development and the construction management RFPs simultaneously together. And they will be out for at least 5 to 6 weeks out on the street. We want to communicate a message to all the vendors that we're open for business, we're looking, and hopefully that they will be engaged in this competitive bid process. As I mentioned before, we believe in competitive bids. It drives the price tag of government down. So we will continue to push for that. So that is the scope of the 4 projects. The project today in front of you is the first step. It's the owner's rep. So you should have, I think on your list, a bid synopsis. Do you have that document? Should be an attachment that's here. So I'll just go over this real quick. The bid was released in the middle of October 16th. We had a pre-bid meeting. We had over 30 attendees that came to 31 Judson, various companies, A&E, as well as owner reps that were interested in these contracts, these RFPs. The bid was actually due November 2nd. We extended. We had heard that there was somebody that was interested. And we always want to side on the side of making sure that people can get their bids in. So we extended it another week. So the final due date was November 9th. We received 9 bids, responsive bids. And in this space of public procurement, 9 bids is good competition. So we went through the evaluation process. There was 3 evaluators, myself, April Lynch, and Ed Joss. And we called the list. We had a short list of 4 vendors. And of the 4 vendors, we had an interview process. We went through that interview process and then ranked the interviewees. The Farbman Group came out as the strongest technical proposal and interviewer. And also, in regards to the top 2 had the lowest price between those 2. So it is our recommended awardee go to the Farbman Group. So that is a synopsis of everything. I'm happy to entertain any questions or follow-ups.
Okay. I will open it up to the commission. I have Commissioner Powell.
So I have briefly talked to Deputy Carlson. He is aware that I do have some questions in regards to the first component of the owner's rep. And I'm not gonna delay our meeting or anything, but just to give my commissioner some of the idea of some of the questions that I have is, number one, why isn't any commissioner represented during this whole process of any of these 4 components? Because the first one, there was not a commissioner there. And you can answer some now, or we still have a meeting after this just to be clear with my commissioners as well.
I think that's an important question. I think Commissioner
You kind of got into it a
Deputy
little bit,
Carlson
right?
has an answer to that. So do you want to?
Yeah, I mean, I did share at the previous committee that we were gonna invite commissioners on both the property development as well as the construction management, which are the 2 biggest RFPs in this whole process. It really sets the landscape of what we're doing.
Okay.
So.
Can follow up on that one, and there's the process of the possible appeal and you have to disqualify later?
Well, that would be something internally you all have to figure out. If someone sits on as a voting member of a joint evaluation committee and something is appealed to this body, you possibly can't sit on the evaluation committee and also the appeal board. You have a conflict of interest at that point in time. But that will be for our corporate attorneys to figure that conflict out.
Okay, some other questions I have is how is the scoring, how does the scoring process coincide with the proposal? Was there a DEI consideration? if the interview process was heavily weighed, why was some of the vendors told not to come? Now, again, like I said, I have to talk to him, me and Nelson Mr. Carson about this, but I just wanted to kind of briefly give descriptions of my questions that I have. Was consideration of the experience of such a magnitude of a project, because from my understanding, who we're recommending has not overseen or managed such a project since the 80s. How many months or timeline was used to determine the total fee for the of what we need to pay the owner's rep of this project? What is the development cost projected? Well, that's the same question, the same one that I just answered. And why are we piecing the project and not putting in as one RFP out for the entire thing? And so those were some of the questions that I have. And I know me and you talked, so I just want to put it out there for transparency of the meeting that I did have with some individuals, just because I did at least promise them that I would put forth these questions because I thought they were very important questions, be it that this is a very huge project for us as commissioners and as our executive to take on, and we want to all see this successfully go well. So, thank you, sir.
Yes, and I appreciate those questions, and just in preparation for yourself and every other commissioner around here, brace yourself, because the same thing's gonna happen on the next three. Whenever you have big projects, folks that are not selected, there's a technical term in the legal world for bidding, and that's called disappointed bidder. And you're gonna have some disappointed bidders, and they're gonna come with similar questions in the future. So they may come to you again, and they may come to somebody else. Now, let me get to a couple of the questions. First one I want to get to is about telling a vendor not to come. Okay, there is a particular vendor that we reminded and said, listen, if you are successful on the owner's rep, you need to understand that you cannot bid on the construction management or the property development. You are precluded from that activity. You still can show, so no one was denied the door or anything, so however that's being phrased is incorrect. A matter of fact, that particular vendor was the one that asked for more time and we gave them more time. So I just want to be transparent back in regards to that. In regards to DEI, I shared with the previous group that we're operationalizing DEI. It is one of the 7 goals of the Coulter administration. And when we say we're operationalizing, it's not just words. We wrote it in part of our spec to help us understand the vendors that were bidding on this, how they're embracing diversity, equity, and inclusion in their companies, and how that is, how does that show itself in regards to their presentation. One of the questions that we asked during the presentation had to do with DEI as well. And if you bear with me for a second, I'll see if I can find it. It's right here. Describes your firm's commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. So it is front and center on this bid. There was 135 total points. We had 9 vendors that put in bids. We went through the evaluation process. We culled the list at 4. So the number 1 was the Concord Group. Number 2 was Plant Moran, Real Point. Farbman Group was 3rd. And CWEC, CARP, and MTD was 4th in regards to the evaluation of the proposal. But we clearly stated it in the RFP, in the selection process, that there would be a presentation and there would be an interview process, and who came out on top of the interview process would be who we would go with and the technical proposal. So the points are important, and I would say it like this, right? In the Olympics, you've got trials to qualify, and then you get into the medal round. These 4 got into the medal round, and we made our selection on that. I'm very comfortable and confident in regards to the process that we ran, it was by the book. And that is why I've involved myself in this process. This is a big project and a big deal to the county. So I will be running point on all 4 of the RFPs, which I have to this date, the 2 that have already gone through. So, and I'm trying to see if there was another question. Oh, in regards to the payment, we're looking over 36 months, is that we would have this vendor. Farbman Group's price would average $25,000 per month over a 36-month period. It could range from 25 to higher. It could possibly be even lower in the early months until we start ramping up. One of the vendors bid 3.75%. They did not bid a monthly rate, which was fine, but it's 3.75% of what we stated in the solicitation, which was $40 million. So $40 million of renovation work in 31 East Judson, 3.75% is $1.5 million. So that's $600,000 more than what the Farbman Group was bidding. I understand that the Farbman Group is currently our real estate folks, but there won't be any other projects that the Farbman Group is eligible for. This is who we're recommending for award. If it is approved by this committee and approved by the Board of Commissioners, the Farbman Group will not be eligible to put in a bid. And I know Yolanda, Commissioner Smith Charles brought this up as a question as well. So I don't know if I hit all of your questions, but
Oh, the last one was just the piecing.
The what?
Why we're not doing it
in one.
in one, and you're doing it.
Because we don't wanna
in
lose
4.
control.
Okay.
Owner's rep sometimes is used in the commercial sector as somebody who is quarterbacking the whole thing.
Got it.
Okay? We're not using owner's rep in that definition on this project for this. We have them with the oversight over 31 East Judson, making sure that we stay on budget and on time. That's their responsibility. They are sort of the same responsibility that our facilities people generally have on projects.
So I just want to thank you for at least answering my questions. I know that we will still talk offline on some other things that I hear here. But I am also thankful that you will, or we are taking consideration to have commissioners somewhere involved, because I think that'll help us as commissioners when we do have these questions, and for clarity, because we have someone representing us at the table to kind of help us understand that process, because again, it is a big project, and thank you, just thank you.
Good shot. Follow up on the piecing. Remember about the example of the bigger companies, Barton Mallard, where they have the contractors
But
that
the
you're
asphalt, like
stuck
you
with?
said, that was good.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes this happens in school districts, especially in school districts with bonding projects and so forth. Once you go with one family, you're in the family. And what I mean by that is if Barton Mallow wins the bond project, it's all of Barton Mallow's family. And then Clark's got their
they use for
family, Hawk's
asphalt,
got their
whatever they
family.
use.
All of these construction folks have their people that they deal with. People that are in part of the Barton Mallow family don't necessarily come over, into the Clark family. So when you give it to one, you're dealing with all of that vendor community that they have. Now, that's not to say that they just have one asphalt person. They might have 4 or 5 but that's who they deal with. That's who feeds them their construction, and that's the way that it works in this process.
And you had said it was 4 components, I actually missed one, owner rep, property development, construction management, and what's the third?
The third one was the A&E / urban developer / community engagement.
Okay.
And we're through that process, and we're trying to work with the city of Pontiac as well, so that they don't necessarily go out and do a separate community engagement, because we don't want to be confusing. Hey, well, what community engagement is this? And I know that Pontiac's interested in doing community engagement in a much wider perspective, not just that downtown area that is of our interest.
Oh, and one more question. You said that the consideration for the timeline of the 36 months, you said it was 25K. What's the max?
I think it was 37 and a half.
Okay, 37, okay,
7.5, I think, yeah.
thank you. Okay, thank you, Chair.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I know Commissioner Long has a lot of questions.
Did Commissioner Wyford, did you have any other
I
questions?
actually.
No, that covers
That was it?
Thank you,
Okay.
thank you, thank you, thank you, that's.
Okay, Commissioner Cavell.
Yeah, thank you, Sean, for explaining the owner's rep. Argument situation. So you mentioned this on the bid, and I was looking at that. What was it that, based on what you said with the scoring and reading it here, right? Furman, out of the top 4, was placed 3rd, but then awarded the bid due to the interview. I mean, could you share just what was compelling?
Well, what was compelling is the people that they have working their project on a day-to-day, on a full-time. The personnel that they brought and the experience that they brought. There was a couple of vendors that brought some folks that might have 3 to 5 years of experience. This is a big project.
Yeah.
Now, it might not be a big project to them. And of course, they weren't gonna say that to us in the presentation. But that's what you communicate to us impliedly when you bring somebody with 4 to 5 years of experience, to the table. So that made a statement to us in regards to that.
Okay.
So.
Understood. This has a budget amendment, so is this coming out of this general fund or something? This isn't coming out of the enhancement grant?
Yeah, once we receive it, it will be, so I think that this is, we'll pay ourselves back on Tuesday for a hamburger
Yeah,
today.
gotcha.
So,
Okay.
You're dating
And then-
yourself, young man.
We had yesterday in PHS, we actually had an interesting thing about contract amendments. So how do we make sure the not to exceed is 900K, but who else is in PHS?
It's me.
Yeah,
Did somebody
non-uniform?
exceed a contract?
Well, there were all these amendments,
Oh.
and then, we found out about it when they're like, we need you to renew it. We went, whoa. Well, we're asking questions. So how do we make sure that doesn't happen here? Because apparently it can happen.
Yeah, it can happen. I don't know what the situation was, but I'll just explain this, because NTEs can be somewhat confusing, and I know the county uses them a lot. I've been in other places where we don't use them as much, and somehow that is to suggest that it's a safeguard from extending. If you are out of an option year, right, usually there's a 3-year base with 2 1-year options, and all of a sudden you renew that option. That NTE was for the base year, so if it was, 100,000, it was 300,000 NTE. Now, if you decide to say, hey, they're doing a great job, let's keep them on, and we're gonna extend them for another year, well, that's 100,000, so the NTE. So it's a little bit of a misnomer because you're deciding to contract with them again. We have that right to do that, so it's not really exceeding the 300,000, but it looks like it on paper. It can be confusing.
So then this 900K,
This 900K should be for 3 years. If for some reason it exceeds that, then we would have to come back here. We'd have to come back with good reasons and rationale for you to accept why it's going beyond that.
okay, thank you. Thanks.
Okay, anybody else have any questions? Going once, going twice, seeing none, I
Never mind,
guess,
I'll talk to Sean later.
you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
Wait, so.
Alright, okay, with that, then let's go ahead and prompt the vote. Did you get it?
Oh, I didn't get it. It's refreshed.
On, no,
Oh, I might think that's about. Is my phone?
Share with this, more about like their phone.
it's one,
Yeah. I have finance out, it's even at home.
Ding, 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 I can't even.
I was just trying to show.
I like now being popular with the phone. Oh.
Okay. You have 5 yeas and 3 nays.
Okay, motion carries.
Thank you.
It's weird.
Carlson and everybody that came with.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you.
Cooperation at its finest.
Hey, you know, I'm all for good discussion and airing what the questions
I
are.
know.
Good job.
Take a minute, silence.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, next we have item 10, departmental recommendations. The first item is item A, 2024 first quarter IT development report.
I'll move.
Yeah.
Moved by Commissioner Smith Charles, supported by Commissioner Cavell. I thought you did that, yes. Okay. Anybody have any comments, questions? I see Mr. Davenport is here if we have any.
I guess it's better than chemicals.
I have no.
So in addition, obviously, to fielding the questions, I thought perhaps I could seize the opportunity to introduce our 2 newest directors.
Oh, okay.
So
Good.
we, as you recall, I think it was kind of late last year, the board had approved the IT reorg. We conducted some extensive interviews and we have selected our two directors. So
Welcome.
I want to introduce Ms. Kim Marango. She is our Applications and Client Services Director, and Mr. Monty Logan, our Infrastructure Director.
Say again.
Yeah, say their names slower.
Introduce yourselves.
I
Good
missed
morning.
both.
Good morning. My name is Kim Arango,
All right, okay.
and I'm the application director.
Okay.
And Monty Logan.
Okay.
And I'm the Infrastructure Services Director.
Good Monday. Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
all right. Well,
So the
welcome
hardware and
aboard.
software, we've got it covered now, so the senior leadership team is filled. So that's
Well,
good,
good.
that's good news.
Welcome.
The challenge is new people,
Mhm.
new sets of eyes on everything, so keep us running, please. Okay, does anybody have any questions or comments for this group on this item?
Thank you for coming. Now we have faces. I like
Commissioner
faces.
Smith Charles?
Yeah,
Easy sell.
not sure if it's germane, but I'm still gonna ask it with regards to, for example, our homepage. Any thoughts to a situation where, when there's committee meetings like today, where it could be pushed up to the top, perhaps a banner, you know, something like, hey, there's meetings happening, you know, click here to participate online or something like that. Because right now it's still very, very varied. And one of the things that I've been very, very keyed in on since being here is just transparency in terms of where the things that we do are. And so if that could be thought of, since we have the apps person here, we've got a hardware person here, and would just like to throw that out. And then in closing, I just came back from NACO Ledge, and there was a question asked, like, why do we have a .com versus a .gov? And I couldn't quite answer that, and I wonder if you have any thoughts.
I think specifically in Oakland County, it's kind of a historical thing. We've had the URL from before. I'd heard that it was, and this is fourth hand, right? But I'd heard that the intent behind that was to make Oakland County more business friendly. So they wanted to have more of a .com type of a thing. I think in the years since, there's been an explosion of these top level domains. So there's a whole bunch of them now. I don't know if it has quite the same cachet.
Yeah.
To change it to a .gov, I mean, there's some ripple effects for that. We've got a lot of our email systems and the way that the networks kind of talk to one another. All that would have to be redone. It's not impossible, but it's not trivial either.
Great. Well, I will definitely follow up with you on that some more and, appropriately through staff, because it's at no cost. It's got higher security, and you automatically get bumped up in Google searches, Yahoo, Bing, AI searches, and things like that, where based on it being a .gov, it's just automatically thought of as a secure and quality site. But that's all I have. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, anybody else? Commissioner Cavell.
I had 2 questions about one about the IT report, but then one just kind of Welcome to the job. So first, page like somewhere on this IT report is, it's on page 5 or something. There's a big red line that says like -$1 million. So help me understand what that means, please. And then also, well, it's red parentheses, so I'm assuming over budget, $1.292 million. And so that's the first question. And then more broadly speaking, how is the like getting us off the, what is it called, like sole service or something, our method of billing and like budgeting the IT from kind of like the commissioners gotta pay $80 an hour for whatever.
The rate study?
Yeah, there you go. How's that going?
I don't think it's started yet.
Okay.
But it's on the list with finance. It's our combined thing, so we have not lost track of that.
Is there something we should do to help with that?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah. Alright. So I think Jeanette could speak to I think it's just a budget transfer item. I don't think it's necessarily in the red.
Yes, that's exactly. It, the red indicates that it's a transfer, so it's from the general, it's to be transferred into IT from those various general fund accounts for the work that was performed this past quarter.
But it isn't over budget.
It's not over budget, it's just a transfer.
And so is that to be expected, roughly the quarterly cost? Cause this is just for work.
Correct, this is development only, labor cost only for that particular quarter, so you can expect it to be around the same each quarter.
So like 1.3 million, and your budget's like 89 million.
Well, and that is just for the general fund portion. If you look at the following page shows the non-governmental accounts, so it's usually about 2 million a quarter on the development.
Okay, and that's staff time, that's what you mean when you say development? Okay.
Correct.
That's interesting. All right, thank you for that.
Sure.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Anybody else? Okay, seeing no one else, let's prompt the vote. On the 2024 first quarter IT development report, 10A.
Madam Chair, could you ask their titles? It's always nice to know what they do.
Sure. Would you please tell us your?
The ladies on the.
Oh, you guys on the right. They're from fiscal. Go ahead.
Sorry, Jeanette McKenna, Manager IT.
Thank you.
And Tammy Shepherd, Business Relationship Manager, IT.
Great, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Did it pop up for you? It did not pop up. Okay. I did. Yes.
Okay, thank you. It's weird. Robin? Yes. You have 8 yeas, 0 nays?
You know, a lot of trouble today.
Okay, motion carries. Next, we have the new service with the Michigan Department of Natural Resources for OakNet connectivity and Clemis. Moved by Commissioner Hoffman, supported by Commissioner Weipert. Good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Jim Manning is our business relation manager for the first responders.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Good morning, and we are here today because the Department of Natural Resources is the conservation, obviously the conservation law enforcement entity for the state of Michigan, as well as Oakland County, and as such, they sometimes write citations in Oakland County and then submit warrants to the Oakland County Prosecutor's Office for consideration. Excuse me. The Oakland County Prosecutor's Office now requires all warrant submissions be done through electronic submission. And to achieve that, the DNR needs access via our network, and we provide that connectivity via portal. So simply opening up a portal so the DNR can submit warrant requests to the prosecutor's office. Before your consideration is the standard IT agreement that any entity that comes onto the Oakland County network in our system, either through just IT or IT and Clemis, this is the same agreement that has to be signed by every entity. So with that, I will open up to any questions.
Commissioner Hoffman.
I want to compliment you guys for doing this and the next one too with the Wayne County Medical Examiner. I just think it's good that we coordinate with each other for efficiency and hopefully cost savings too, and maybe get some little income because of that too. But I think it's a good thing for government.
Thanks.
Anybody else? Commissioner Cavell?
How is this DNR agreement different than, say, like the Highland Park or other like Clemmis agreements? What is the difference in the relationship?
The IT agreement is just a standard legal agreement that they have to agree to protect our network, certain standards they have to meet, protect any of our data, that transfers back and forth. So it's the same exact agreement.
Well, okay, if it's that Highland Park had to pay however much they had to pay, and the DNR is getting this, if I'm understanding, because there's no budget amendment, for free?
Yeah, the Highland Park is consuming actual applications from Clemmis, our records management system, our CAD system. There's other services beyond that. For the DNR, we simply open up a portal so they can have access. We do not provide them any other services. Obviously, we support the network, us being Clemmis and IT, but that is not they don't use our records management system, our computer-aided dispatch system, our citations, any of that. They just submit documents electronically to the prosecutor's office. The prosecutor's office is a paying member of Clemmis, and they have the same agreements, and they fund that portion of it.
So then, if DNR is using, like if I understand you right, a slight amount of bandwidth, right? It's just like a password or access to the portal, like you say.
Yes.
Is there any value to asking them to pay?
Well, it's something we could consider, yes, sir, absolutely. It's very minimal, the amount of support that we require to do, but obviously, you're right, we have to support the network. That is something that we could consider as part of that the fee study.
Okay.
And that is, all of our fees are gonna be considered in the future. So take the note on that, and yes.
Okay. When is that's also part of the rate study?
It can be, yeah. So I guess this would kind of fall under the OakNet.
Yes.
Yeah, so the larger wide area network that we use to connect to folks, this would, if this is such a, basically just sending these files back and forth, we'd have to get pretty granular on how we would build that by usage, but it's possible.
But in general, Clemmis is part of the rate study that you're going to engage in.
I think that's TBD. Clemmis is in a bit of a state of flux, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why?
There's a I don't know if it's a study. There's some thought about how to maybe reorganize the Clemmis group.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else? So my thought when I saw we were gonna do this with the natural resources and it's hooking into OakNet was, oh, that could be a broadband site, right? Because we've talked about OakNet as a potential fiber backbone for Oakland County for broadband going forward. And that popped into my mind, oh, okay, if I go to the state park, I can get Wi-Fi through OakNet maybe someday, right? Is that a reasonable thought that I had, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's not unreasonable. I think
Joe LaRussa's sitting up there smiling.
Right, I think that, we just talked yesterday, I think, or on Tuesday. So I think the intent of the OakNet thing is to, for internet service providers to use that as part of their, kind of the backbone of their networks to increase the penetration for underserved areas. But certainly, if one of those providers wanted to do a public Wi-Fi thing, they could use that.
Okay. Yeah. I'm still really excited about the thought that we're gonna try and do something like that longer term, but I know it's all still very much in discussion.
Yeah, I think the second part of this, phase 2 of the study will be starting soon.
Good. Okay, if nobody's got any other questions, let's prompt the vote on the Michigan Department of Natural Resources connectivity.
Get mine now. Yours? No. There's a couple that didn't go.
Mine came up this time.
This time. Lon?
Yes, I'll try to refresh
Helen?
again. I just never seen nothing like this today.
Val?
Yes.
Speaking of
Ryan?
IT, Get it? None of this works ever. And it's like I have to be high-tech security, about 10, 15 passwords to get my emails at home. Send to text, send to email, it's me. Frustrates me.
Okay, so that
Hopefully you're
motion
listening.
carries.
Yeah, hopefully you're listening to me, not Jermaine.
Okay,
I can't even get my emails at
He's
home.
saying you're the reason
Yeah.
that the hackers are gonna get
Yeah,
us.
now on the line, yeah.
okay.
I already go
everybody,
on it.
The
Before
board
we
high
go into the
schoolers
next
would be
item,
like,
just
"Oh,
as an
Chris Long
experiment,
had
would
2, 3
everybody
passwords."
refresh now?
Hard refresh? No, I'm kidding.
No, yeah, just up at the top, the little,
But, you know, I
Okay.
gotta send somebody
then we'll
emails.
see if the vote happens.
To read my emails.
Okay. All right, next item is item 10C, new service with the Wayne County Medical Examiners for online payments and
I've been saying
over-the-counter
that for
payments,
years,
same
where,
thing.
like,
Moved by
nothing
Commissioner
changes.
Hoffman,
Support.
supported by Commissioner Smith Charles. Anybody have any questions or further discussion on this item? Commissioner Cavell?
Similar sort of question about why we're not asking them to pay.
So so my understanding of this is that they want to be able to leverage the infrastructure to do online and in-person payments for like supplies and private autopsies. So there would be some revenue coming back to us through the G2G,
Okay.
the revenue sharing piece of that. So this is a little bit of a different thing than the DNR.
So this though,
Really? Yeah, I can't stand it.
I can't tell where the expected revenue would be.
It's part of the
We don't,
There's
like
like
the
a-
number.
yeah,
I know
there-
the G2D is,
Yeah, there's
G is like the
there's a
share.
percentage of, you know, the transactions. So,
Okay.
and I don't know the volume of this, but
Okay.
yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
All right, any other questions, comments? Let's prompt the vote.
I know. Oh, I got mine, good.
When you have an Android instead
Oh, yeah, that makes a difference too.
Did everybody get a prompt?
No,
Hoffman?
Did you,
Yes.
did you refresh when she?
I refreshed.
Okay, cause
Yeah.
she instructed
Just
us
like
all.
hanging out.
He's on his iPad.
Zero
We're not on
nays.
there.
That's true.
It'll probably.
Oh,
All right,
sometimes.
motion
That's
carries.
where you are.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's true.
If you're going back.
Thank
to
you.
motion,
Moving on
read.
to item 11, public health and safety recommendations to copy and digitize the record services for the conviction integrity unit. I need a motion. Commissioner Powell, supported by Commissioner Long. Okay, who's gonna tell us about this one?
You got some prosecutor.
We can't hear you, Beth.
Oh, there we go. We see Bethany Greenberg up
We
there.
can't hear you.
We need to unmute.
No, she is on
She's
mute.
unmuted.
Betsy's not.
But
Betsy's
Beth's
not,
the one
but
talking.
Beth-
Hear me?
Yeah, yes. Yep, you're both green lights, green lights.
Okay, I think we can hear you.
So we can hear Betsy, but for some reason, Beth, you might need to leave and re-enter. I don't know that your audio is accessible within the meeting.
She's speaking in cursive, and a lot of the young people don't
Somebody's
understand.
back.
Yeah, I saw that.
Well, I will get it going while Beth works on her technicals. We appreciate the time from the commission, and the committee today. We're here to talk about the fact that, we're requesting funds to digitize the case files related to our conviction integrity unit. This is actually a recommendation to our office by Corporation Counsel. They had sought out the contract and began the process, but then it was determined that really the contract should be housed with us because they are our files. They will be scanned and really preserved for purposes of litigation if that becomes something that occurs after we handle the matter through our conviction integrity unit. So that's what we're seeking the funds for at this time.
Okay. I'll open it up to Commissioner Powell and then Commissioner Cavell.
I just wanna say, I think this is a great thing, cause I know when, our new prosecutor took office, we was a little delayed in the technology space of doing things, so it's exciting to hear that we're catching up to digitize everything, cause a lot of stuff is digitized now, so congrats, and I am a supporter for this.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Cavell.
Not to, perhaps
me give you a mask.
I think it's lunchtime.
Yeah. Not to like put Nicole or Corp Counsel on blast, but if I heard you right, Betsy, in reading the item summary sheet, because Corp Counsel deemed it appropriate, you were able to then ask for this request? Not that you can't ask for your own request, but like you came to us before with the Oxford asking for $1.25 million for tech, and we said no. And now you're looking for another 100K. Yeah, how did this come up? Like,
So I don't know that I
either
heard you
so
correctly.
little.
I don't think the commission has ever at any time denied a request from our office with regard to tech as it relates to the Oxford case.
We made you redo it so that it was 500K and you had to detail it. You guys remember this?
We did come with a detailed request as we, would want to do as good stewards of the taxpayers' dollars. But specifically with regard to these funds, we were doing it internally. That staff was handling the scanning portion of it, and honestly, we just found it was too cumbersome. And we wanted it to be preserved. The firm that we have identified and now have this contract with, this is all they do. So it's not our support staff being trained on how to do it meticulously. These people, this is their job. And Corporation Counsel, I think, because they handle that litigation part of it after we're done with our portion of it, sought out the contract. And then when we started talking, we decided, it should really be housed in our office because there are files until after the Conviction Integrity Unit handles the case. And then obviously litigation, or when litigation, if it ensues, then it becomes a Corporation Counsel issue. So it was really a collaborative.
Okay, thank you. I understand better why Corp Counsel is here. I'm sorry, Nicole, if you wanted. It's okay.
No, but I just wanted to add to what Betsy was saying, and I just wanted to point out the unique work that the Conviction Integrity Unit does that's different from the prosecutor's office generally. And so these files, they're very old. They're, there's VHS tapes, everything's in paper, and they're very special in the sense that sometimes these cases, these reverse conviction cases, depends on how is that file preserved, what's in that file. And so generally when we have staff do it, it's low-level clerical, like a student intern, somebody like that. Because these files are so important, it's not suitable for that. It's someone more experienced who can document things in order, preserve a chain of custody, bait stamp it, get it ready for litigation, and also get it ready for any outside agencies who might need to do it to do their work, like the Attorney General's office. It was efficient that way. So that is why this is a separate request, because this contract is kind of for Conviction Integrity Unit only.
Okay, thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Betsy.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anybody else have questions? Seeing none, let's prompt the vote.
Oops, I swiped away from
Yeah,
that.
I think Beth was trying to say something, but just to let her know, we can't hear her. Her mouth was moving now, she got the things in, so. I just want to let her know you wasn't ignoring her, yeah.
Yeah,
we
Ms.
can't
Morrow,
hear her.
are you okay with?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Cold in here. Colder than
Just
enough.
get
My
down.
nose is freezing.
Just clicked on it like new.
That's what I'm cold.
I think it's 'cause I like being over by you.
It's probably
It's
nicer
like,
outside.
Yeah, I know it is, makes you feel cool.
This is called job security right here.
No kidding.
She
Good
said
way to look
yes.
at it.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, though.
Oh, you went off,
Okay,
you went out of your meeting?
No, he didn't do anything wrong, there's something. Okay, we'll try again.
Hoffman,
Yes.
thank you. 8 yeas, 0 nays.
Okay, motion carries.
Stuff on
Thank you.
ITs here, it's like,
Thank you all.
he didn't get my
All right.
emails at home.
Thank you. Okay, now we come to
20
item
minutes to sign
12,
that.
Board of Commissioners recommendations. We have 4 items here. The first one is the sponsorship of the Troy Historic Village for Civil War Days and Indigenous Voices Project.
I'll move it.
Can we move all three at the same?
Move all 3? Or-
I have a question for A, so
You can still ask.
It's okay.
I might not vote yes for it though if you move all 3.
No, you just asked during it.
I
This was
suppose.
Okay.
Three.
Okay, we
so that
we
all
okay,
on
okay.
the copy.
All right, we're gonna move A, B, and C together.
Yes.
Commissioner Smith Charles moved them and
Supported by
Commissioner Hoffman is supporting it. All right, first up, let's hear from who's ever gonna tell us about the Troy Historic Village for Civil War Days and Indigenous Voices Project.
And Commissioner Lubes is attending virtually, and I believe
Okay.
she has other.
It's the only one that crossed that.
Commissioner Lubes, are you up there somewhere?
Hi, thank you. Yes. So we're quite excited about this. The Troy Historical Village provides many education and entertainment activities. We have watercolor classes, a spring egg hunt. We have Thursday teas, pre-story time, constituent cafes. We have home classes for scouts. We have walking groups, and our specialties are the Civil War and Indigenous Days Festival. So we're asking for support to make that happen. Right now, for our Civil War Days and Indigenous Voices, the programs are supported by donations, and this would allow us to actually continue the programs that numerous school children attend throughout the year.
All right, I know Commissioner Long has a question.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Loop. So the reason why I was saying I might not support it, but you're answering something about donations, but when you look on the project, I mean, I know we're all concerned, I am, there's a few other commissioners. We have a lot of projects. I'm not saying they're not all good projects in the community. I see number 4, we have the process back on here. But there's been a few I haven't voted for. But so on this one, the thing that raised a little flag for me, I'm not gonna say red, because I don't know if it's that much money. A little flag for me is that the total project is $10,000 and you're asking for the Board of Commissioners to pay $10,000, but then in your presentation, you're saying there's donations. So I don't understand, are we 100% funding this event? Or are there gonna be donations and other things? Because this is the only one that I can remember that's 100%. I don't know, maybe we've had a few others, but on this form, it says the total project costs $10,000 and that we're allocating $10,000 from us. So is it 100% funded just from Oakland County? Or are there donations, or is this a continual program? I mean, just help me understand that, I guess. That's my question.
We collaborate with different entities also for support, but the 10,000 would be both for the Civil War Days and Indigenous Voices. So the 2 different programs for a total of 10,000.
Okay, but are there other funds, like you said something about donations? I just wanna try to say, I don't know if we wanna start supporting 100% of every program in Oakland County. Most of the time, the community or the organization has some skin in it, some money. And I don't know if this is the first one that I ever saw that it was 10 and 10, or I missed others.
Yes, it's 10 total.
All right, maybe she can ask, yeah.
Penny, we have
Yes.
somebody here who can speak to that too
Yes.
from Troy, so.
Thank you.
Please
She's here,
introduce
yes.
yourself and then.
We have Jen Peters here, yes. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm Jen Peters. I'm the executive director of the Troy Historic Village that operates, and the Troy Historical Society operates the village. And thank you for this opportunity, and I want to thank Commissioners Lubes and Erickson Galt as well for support of this. So to answer your question, each of these programs takes between $10,000 and $12,000 to run.
Okay.
Just basic expenses. Because each of these programs involves a number of outside contractors, we hire artists and we have collaborated with Indigenous partners. And the cost to bring them in, the cost to house them, things like that, that straight cost is between $10,000 and $12,000 for each program.
Okay,
And
this
then
is
we
two
also
programs
have-
combined right now.
Yep,
Okay.
and then there is also the cost of staff to run it and facilities and things like that, that it's more toilet paper when you have that many kids coming to a program. And then to speak to previous support of this, they have been also partially grant funded. In particular, we've been doing Civil War Days for more than 10 years. And for quite a while, we had support from Michigan Humanities Council. But Michigan Humanities Council only wants to support a particular program for a while. They hope that you can then self-support it. But, so we had support from them for five or 6 years. I'm just guessing at that. But they no longer support Civil War Days because they feel it should be self-supported. Indigenous Voices, we are getting some grant support from that as well because it's a newer program. But one of the things that we continue to struggle with is we do want to keep the cost down for schools because there is still a small cost for schools. And we want to support our creative staff and our partners with livable wages. So that's been my struggle over the last couple of years, is trying to move the wages up for my staff and make sure that we are paying those artists and Indigenous partners that we contract with a fair wage for their time that they do that. So I hope that.
Well, I guess my
illustrates your-
question would be after that, so this is 2 events, so are you saying that each event really costs more than 5,000? That the
Yes.
sheet is kind of wrong, because it's saying the total cost is 10, but I'm hearing you saying there's donations, the children pay from the schools.
Right.
So this is to offset some of the other costs.
Right. Like I
more than
said,
what
yeah.
this,
Yeah.
how it's written up, it's saying we're 100% funding it. And that was
You're
my
not.
question.
No, you're offering support to each of these programs as a piece of the overall support for each of them.
Okay, so if you look how it's written up, it's just different than the others, so, okay, thank you. Mr. Long, anybody else? Any other issues on the other 2 items?
Did Joe want to speak to it in
Yep.
Farmington?
Okay, yeah, we've got some other folks from Farmington that wanna jump in, Joe LaRussa, the mayor, and.
No, they the next project, ain't they?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're doing all 3 at once.
And
they waited, so they might wanna say something.
So we're gonna talk about the Farmington Bicentennial Timeline Public Art Installation now.
Sorry.
And William, your champion, is over here in the corner making racket.
No shout outs from the sidelines.
All right, so who's gonna tell us about this one?
We have Sean Murphy, we have.
I can kick it off and then I'll pass to Sean. So I think, well, first of all, thank you all for putting this on the agenda. I want to thank Commissioner Miller for bringing it forward, I believe, to the committee's attention. And for those of you that are not aware, Farmington is celebrating its bicentennial this year. That's right, 200 years. Wow. So it's been a great run, and we want to celebrate and mark the moment appropriately. So last year, the city established a bicentennial steering committee, which Sean Murphy, who's a former DDA member, board member in the city, graciously agreed to lead the charge on the bicentennial. There are many elements planned, and I would encourage all of you to make your way to Farmington to be a part of the year-long celebration. 1824 was 13 years before Michigan was even a state, so we're very proud that we were there first. So any chance you get to come down and enjoy some of the celebration, we'd encourage you to do that. This particular project, I believe you were given some information in advance, is for a particular art installation in a corridor between a couple of buildings in our downtown, between a couple of spaces where there's a pedestrian pass-through, and we saw an opportunity to program that space with some artwork and some placemaking elements that would enable us to make that part of the celebration. And for the number of events that we have coming up in the downtown, this is a very well-traveled thoroughfare for pedestrians who are coming into the center of town, whether it's for the farmers market, Art on the Grand, Founders Festival. All of the things that we do in downtown Farmington will give people an opportunity to see this. So from a placemaking and recognition perspective, we see this as a very high ROI proposition for the county to bring some recognition to the fact that it's supporting not only the celebration, but also the history in Oakland County that Farmington represents. So I'll kick it to Sean as somebody who's doing the do and going to all the meetings. And I want to publicly thank him for all of his effort and for the committee. They've done a lot of great work, and they are committing to a year-long execution. So it was no small task or no small ask for them to serve on this committee. So Sean, if you have anything to add or anything you want to draw attention to with regard to the specific project.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate that. Thanks for coming and taking your time as well. Thank you all for your consideration. Thank you, Commissioner Miller. Just to add briefly to what the mayor said, yeah, so this is it's a high traffic area. It is right next to, it's between our anchor grocery store downtown Fresh Time, and on the other side, there's a new business coming in, I think imminently, called My Salon Suites. So we anticipate that the busy area is going to get even busier. One of the challenges in this space is that the electrical is not currently functioning, so at night it is dark. So along with this project, the idea is to have string lights overhead. As you see from the sort of crude diagram that I did on my phone, that's in your packet. Apologies for the amateurness of that, but it kind of gives you an idea. That's what we're looking to do, similar to kind of the belt in Detroit, if you're familiar with that. To light the space, to make it safer, and then this timeline installation would just share memories from Farmington across the years to commemorate our bicentennial. So we just thought it was a great time to try and get this project underway, which has been sort of thought about for many years. We do have support of the property owner. One of the challenges is the electrical connection is believed to be somewhat expensive to connect. We need to go to the city's electrical. So that's one of the reasons. We think that the connection may be up to 15 grand. The art itself is maybe, in the installation of that's maybe only 5 to 6. So we're looking at, we think a total project cost of around 20. And as the mayor said, certainly an opportunity to showcase the county and the Board of Commissions contribution if you're able to do this. The plan would be to unveil it at Art on the Grand, which is one of our larger sort of events in Farmington, first weekend of June. I believe it draws about 55,000 people. And if we were to be so fortunate as to receive funding from the BOC, we would certainly showcase your involvement. And again, appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Thanks, Sean. Are there any questions from the committee members or any comments regarding or if you want any information about the bicentennial, we can certainly provide you with more information that you can shake a stick at about that. It's a year-long celebration.
Thank you. Good. Yeah, there aren't too many communities in Michigan that are older than 200 years old, so. Well, you can, if you follow, the migration patterns, right? Farmington, Northville, there's a few downriver places that were around, but not very many, so, yeah. Okay, if no, Commissioner Smith Charles.
Yeah, a quick comment to just let you know that I will be dining in fine downtown Farmington tomorrow because Thursdays are Taco Birria days at the Meta little Mexican grill right down the hall from Fresh Time. And so just thought I'd shout it out. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for that. Then you know the spot very well. If you want to walk down and cruise that pedestrian thoroughfare, you'll spot it if you go slightly to the west from where you'll be dining.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, if there's nothing else, let's prompt the vote.
Oh, wait, C, that's C as well.
Oh, we haven't done C, I'm sorry. Okay, a little slow. Okay. Item C then is the sponsorship of Hospitality House's Food Pantries 2024 A Taste of Spring event. Is there anybody here to speak to that?
Yes.
Yes, I see David Cipriano from Hospitality House, so. Moved by Commissioner Smith Charles.
I think we moved all.
Remember we did
We already moved them all.
A through C, we moved.
Thank you,
Right,
RJ
so,
and Chris.
Mr. Cipriano, if you would unmute yourself and tell us about your project.
It's not.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for making some time for letting us talk today, too. I really appreciate that. So my name is David Cipriano. I am the Grant Development Manager here at Hospitality House. And so Taste of Spring really is an event that our Executive Director, Susan, came up with to bring people into the pantry, really to see the work that we're doing and to kind of speak to some of the issues that we've been experiencing here in Oakland County. Just in the last year, we've nearly doubled our numbers of clients that we're serving, and the need really has not slowed down at all. And so this event is partly fund development, partly community gathering to bring people into the pantry. We just find that they have more impact when you can actually see the work that you do, and to spread awareness of just the issues that we're facing here across Oakland County, and I'm sure across Southeast Michigan moreover.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Powell.
So Hospitality House is an organization that helps with the food insecurities, you said throughout Oakland County, or is it more specific as far as, oh, you shaking your head?
Yeah, I can speak to it a little bit too. So it's a food pantry. It's based in Commerce Township. It started about 22 years ago in Wall Lake. And it's grown over time to the point that now I think it supports about 850 families twice a month. And they donate about 70,000 pounds of food every single month to those facing hunger and food insecurity in the area. Initially, there were geographic restrictions about where residents had to live in order to be serviced, but I think it's been several years now that they've actually taken those restrictions out, and they will now offer it up to anybody who wants to come in and shop. It's actually really cool. I volunteered there a handful of times, and it's amazing. The service that they provide, the number of people that come in and actually take advantage of this resource. There's a lot of people in our area facing food insecurity, and the fact that we have resources like this in our community is phenomenal. So anything we can do to support them. I'm the one that actually had sponsored this or had suggested this come through, and I think it's just a great thing that we can do. And the sponsorship we're looking for is $5,000 on this one for this event to bring some recognition to their venue and their facility.
Well, I will, can I respond? Still, yeah. I just want to say thank you, Commissioner Rahman, for bringing such a thing. Of course, I live in a district that food insecurities is something that, we got food pantries and setups every day throughout our community trying to help in this space. And the only other question I had is, just so happen if, this hospitality house runs out of food, is there any time where you have to contract, or is there any other partners that kind of help you all with filling the food pantry, like Gleaners and stuff like that? Because of course they're in the, and just so you know, I represent the Pontiac area, so they're in our community. And I'm just asking, because if not, I was gonna say you need to call Gleaners and stuff to kind of fill your pantry as well to get some assistance. Yeah.
Absolutely, no, and I appreciate it, and thank you, Dr. Rahman, too, for all that information. That was all very accurate, and I appreciated it. But yeah, so we are a partner of Gleaners Food Bank and Forgotten Harvest as well as a number of corporate and local sponsors or supporters, I guess.
Well, thank you for your service. I truly appreciate that, and thank you again, Commissioner Rahman, for bringing that before.
Okay, Commissioner Hoffman.
I just have a question. Where is the event being held? It says the date, but where?
East Maple Road.
It's at their facility.
It's at their facility. It's on East Maple Road.
Oh, okay, because I didn't see it.
It's in something else. I don't think it's on that page.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anybody else? Commissioner Cavell.
Yeah, hi David. So Ajay was very kind in sharing the need. Can you speak more to that? 850 families twice a month. Has that number stayed the same? Has it gone up? Has it gone down?
So
what are you seeing?
Bidenomics.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Sorry. Bidenomics. Everything's
We
going up.
have, I've been with the pantry for a little over a year. I started in January of 2023. So at that time, we were serving around 400 households twice a month. Since that time, really starting in March, when we saw the end of the pandemic era benefits, it was around $183 per household that was cut. We have seen our numbers just continue to grow. And up to that point, so we are now, historically, we were serving 400, 450. We're now regularly every month serving 850 to 900 households twice a month.
You said, I'm sorry, you said something was cut on, what was that?
Yes, so the pandemic era benefits for SNAP and WIC were increased during COVID. And starting March of 2023, they officially reduced all of those pandemic era benefits. And really since then, and with inflation, the cost of living going up, we just have continued to see the rise in need.
Okay, thank you. Do you get any money? Do you get any money from CDBG dollars, like Commerce Township's CDBG budget? Or
we do get Novi and Wixom CDBG dollars.
But you're headquartered in Commerce.
Yes, we do. Yes, we are, but we have not historically received any Commerce CDBG funds.
Okay.
Because they used to use it for their transportation, maybe.
Commissioner Powell?
I will also put this, Cavell, because I know you kind of move in this space, but the state has, they need to actually revisit their calculations on what they allow for food allowance, because they have not adjusted since inflation and groceries has went up. And actually, they're denying more people in that space. And a lot of single family homes are now having to figure out, do I work? Because yes, salaries has increased, food has increased, but they still working on, from my understanding, they have not adjusted that food allowance for what is going on. And now families have to decide, do I go work more hours so I can feed my kids? Or, you know what I mean? Or just forget the food. And some adults are not putting themselves on applications. They're just putting their kids so that they can get food. So it's something that the state, federal, whoever looks at that with DHS, they need to really review that allowance, because it's horrible.
Well, like David said, the pandemic era SNAP benefits ended, and so people
And they
got their
didn't
benefits. Well, and they got their benefits cut $183 per person on average, or per family on average.
Yeah.
And then that's when inflation goes up too, so yeah.
Right,
totally.
and they still haven't adjusted with the inflation and salaries, like, people are still, you know what I mean?
Well, right, there hasn't been the adjustment.
Rent went up,
But there's
they're
also
not-
just been a cut.
Yeah.
Anybody else? I know that CARES in Farmington Hills has the same situation where they, the last 6-8 months has really exploded the number of people coming through their facility, so, yeah. Okay. If nobody else has any other comments on these 3 items, I'm in such a hurry to prompt the vote, I've tried to do it 3 times, so.
Yeah, that's good. We like the chairperson such in a hurry. Let's go. Okay, then I'll be on that.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, they wanna work when they wanna work.
That's what I was saying when IT was here.
Okay, motion carries. All 3 of those projects, Farmington, Troy, and Hospitality House, you've all been approved and will be moved to the full board. Yes.
Thanks for joining, guys.
16-year-old.
Thanks for sticking around, William. Thank you. All right. Thanks, everybody. Our last item today is the process for submission and evaluation of special project requests.
TLDR.
Yeah.
Moved by Commissioner Weipert, supported by Commissioner Powell. The purpose of this, and I'm gonna let Mike talk about details, but this is something that I've been trying to just kind of steer for many months. Because as long as I've been on the board, we have these special projects. Some commissioner says, I got this thing, like we just had 3 of them in my district, and I would like the commission to support this in one way or another. Now, some folks think it's, I'll call it pork, right? But I personally think if we're careful and we are intentional about how we do this is what I would call good pork, because we are embedding ourselves deeply into our communities so that they know that the county is here, and that we are your commissioners, regardless of party. We've got commissioners from all over our group. But I have felt like it's been kind of loose. We have little projects, these 3 that just came before us, I would call little, because they're $10,000 or less. But then we also have these bigger sponsorships that we've supported in the past for big chunks of money. And then we've had other projects that we brought forward as a special project and decided it was really too much money. And another department, whether it was the health department or OCHN or economic development, they said, no, that better fits in our department budget. And so some of those adjustments have been made over the years. So to bring all that back, I would like us to have a process defined that's flexible. So we, you know, individuals can bring new projects and we can talk them through, but has some boundaries on it. Certain things such as, I think, the one Chris just brought up earlier, are there partnerships? If we're gonna be putting in money, are there partnerships also with other organizations and so on? That would be an item I would be looking for. So we drafted up this draft policy. It's not my intention that we approve this afternoon. My intention is that everybody kind of, if you've taken a look at it, what are your comments? What do you think needs to be added or changed? Let's talk about that, and we'll hand it back to Mike, and he can polish it up for us. But this today, I wanted just to be a discussion item. Okay? So I'll start with Commissioner Powell.
So one thing that I wanted to add to this is that, you know, some of these requests that come in, I want us to at least have the option on here as commissioners to opt that if they, for example, if their overall project costs 30, right? And we've committed 5 or 10, we need to make sure that they got the 30. Because at the same time, we can't waste no money. And, we don't have that. We don't have that opportunity. So if a commissioner wanna opt in or opt out on that match request, cause I've been doing that a lot because just so happened, I asked for a request and they did not get the match. And just think if we would've gave them the money and they never went through the process. We know they're not gonna give us this money. They're not gonna try to give us this money back. So, or we put some language in there to know like if it don't go through. I don't know what that is. I'll let our staff decide what the proper language is. But I wanted to put that on the floor because we do have another one that's coming up that me and Gwen, we are working on it. And that was something that I kind of suggested that if they don't get the rest of the money, we shouldn't ditch it out. It's just how I feel about certain things. So I just want to put that out there.
That's a good point. Anybody else? Commissioner Rahman, followed by Commissioner Long.
Thank you, Andrea. I know you and I have talked offline about this. Do we want to consider with all of these different categories, you know, whether it be sponsorship, programs, special projects, creating either buckets or sort of maybe guardrails about how much we want to spend or looking to spend? Because I think without having any idea, I mean, it's wide open, right? I mean, we could do something very small that's a few thousand. We can open up to these larger projects. So maybe if we set some ideas, and again, we can make exceptions as a group. If we decide, hey, it fits in this bucket, but we, as a group, decide we wanna spend more, we reserve the right to do so, but at least it gives us some general parameters within which I feel like we can operate. In terms of money, and then my second question, and this I'll throw to the group, do we want to try to maybe decide if we wanna separate by geography or by district? Or do we again leave that open? You know, if certain areas have greater needs than others, you know, how do we determine how we wanna make those allocations?
Okay. My opinion right now is I don't think we wanna get too restrictive if we don't have to, right? Cause some commissioners have 5 or 6 communities. And they might wanna do a project in each of those communities. Whereas others, like Angie's only got 1 community.
But y'all didn't tell me, no, it's okay, if I just put everything before.
But you know, you have a community with a lot of needs, so you might come to us with 3 or 4 projects in a year. Penny might come to us with 3 or 4 projects in a year because she's got a bunch of communities. So I don't wanna be too restrictive yet, unless we have to. That's my opinion. Commissioner Long is next, and then Commissioner Cavell.
Well, I just wanna, I do want something in there that, like with the Troy thing, cause that wasn't clear to me. And if a project's 10 and they're asking for 10, they have 0% into it. So I do want, and you know, and she explained it, but I was going to vote no on that just because I think that the entity, whether through grants, fundraising, you know, just regular donations, so it should have some, like she's kind of saying if they don't have the rest of the money or, you know, that was a little confusing to me, so I was gonna vote no for it, but, so I would like the projects, there to be something in there that they have some obligation to fund some of that project. I don't think that the county should be funding 100% of any project, in my opinion, just because then we're gonna get into the geographical, then we're gonna say, well, Angie's getting 100%, I'm using her for example, you know, for everything in Pontiac, so we're just supporting Pontiac and the other communities, we're putting money in, you know, they're paying half and we're giving them only 5,000 or something. So I do like the idea of saying somehow whatever project it is has some kind of you know, skin in the game, for lack of another word, you know, some kind of funding. That helps me to vote for it because they're serious doing it. And then they can look for funding, like she said, they have to look for funding. It was previously funded in Troy, but now the funding's gone away. But we don't want these people to not look for funding in the future because we paid 100% of a project the 1 year. So I think there should be something saying we're not gonna 100% approve or fund a whole project.
Could be like a match.
There has to be some kind of match. I don't care. I don't wanna be so restrictive saying it's gotta be 50%. I just want them to have skin in the game that each project, like next year, if they come back, like Phil's kite one, they get much more money. They get 5,000 of us and the project's 40. So they have skin in the game, they look for it. I don't want people to stop looking for funding because 1 year we paid 100%. Because maybe this might go away someday from us. So I'd like some kind of little thing saying they have to have some kind of, you know, match. I don't know if we have to say what percent. I don't know if I want to be that restrictive because we could vote no if we don't think it's enough percent. But, you know, each commissioner on their own, if they think, oh, that's too much money we're giving, they can vote no. So I'm not sure I want to restrict it so much saying, because might be a nightmare on our end too. But I just think they should have a little skin in the game. I don't know how much donations, you know, volunteers, something.
Yeah, some wording.
Some kind of wording like that.
Match, which
Yeah.
we're already,
Some kind of.
most of the time, we're
Yes.
thinking in that way anyway.
Okay,
So,
but that wasn't written that way today, so something might need on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that it?
Yes,
Commissioner Long?
yeah.
Commissioner Cavell?
I think kind of the opposite,
Same.
because we don't know what's going to come before us. And we already have a built-in like transparency infrastructure, which is this frickin' team right here. So if you wanna vote no, cause $10,000 to go to the city of Troy doesn't feel like enough of a community investment that this lady used her own gas money and time to drive here to try and pay people a living wage, and she's asking for 10 grand and the whole budget's 10 grand, then vote no. But I would vote yes for that 10 out of 10, cause like that's what I value. And that's what this body is supposed to do, so it's our responsibility. So I say don't restrict it, because then we're shooting our future selves in the foot, and we don't know what opportunities are gonna present themselves for us to best serve our community. And then also, just to be real, like until we kind of like get a little more gutsy with our budget negotiations, instead of kind of like falling over sideways to approve the executive's budget with like 1 or 2 requests to change something, this is the best we got. So we're gonna be arguing over 10K in $1 billion budget. Is that really what we need to be focusing on? In terms of like serving our community and being a voice? Not to say that there's anything wrong with the executive budget or whatever, but like if we all recall the last few years, our budget requests have been like hire 1 guy for senior services, add a couple people for DEI, right? Like those are important, but like there's also another $995 million that's being moved around that we're not, that we're worrying about this $10,000 thing about whether Troy should get a full match or she should find $1,000 extra from a GoFundMe from her cousin to then do.
Well,
And it's like, but Clemis is $68 million, and what are we talking about?
We're talking
that? You know what I
apples and
mean?
oranges though.
I know, but I'm saying, that's what I'm saying, is the more we talk
But
about
once
this.
you explained it,
The
it's
more
just
we
not
talk,
in here.
but the more we
It's
talk
fine.
about this, the more we focus on this couple $100K, the more we are putting ourselves in the restricted and limited time and energy we have for this job to think about that minor pot of money, other than what's the new CFO gonna do to help us with the whatever? Not that we're not doing that, not that Coulter's not doing a good job at that, but like let's think bigger, right? I mean, we were at NACO talking to Dave Flynn from Macomb County, and he told us, he said, man, he was the Macomb County chairperson, 2012 to 2016, and he said, you guys, I have a different job now, I miss it, and think big. So I'm just saying, like, yeah, let's argue about 10 grand if we want, or like whether we should make sponsorships be 50% this and 50, or let's talk about big stuff to help make the quality of life of Oakland County residents better.
I think they're two different things.
I know they're different, that's
agree
what I'm
with you.
saying, so let's stop talking about this, Cause this ability
Well, you
stuff.
can stop talking about this if you want,
Okay.
but we got here because we've been doing these special projects for 25 years
Yeah.
without any guardrails.
Right.
Right.
And since I've sat in this chair, I've had lots of complaints, lots of requests, lots of confusion. And the purpose of this, for this specific task of the Board of Commissioners, I'm proposing we put together a procedure that we can all live within that is flexible. Now, some of the examples that have come before us, big dollar items, skate park in Pontiac, some of the bigger festivals and so on, and other big decisions, I don't think necessarily fall in the category of special projects for the commissioners. I think this is to me, in my mind, this is a personal touch of each commissioner within their communities. Whatever those needs are, whether it's, an indigenous event like Farmington's got, or something historical like Lake Orion's got, I think we should be able to manage this piece of our money. There's been a question about, well, how much money do we have available? There was always this $1.3 million figure thrown around for 3 or 4 years. Well, it turns out we never spent that much money. The way it works now is we specifically in the budget get $300,000, but there's already $350,000 carryover that's on top of that. And if we don't spend all of that this year, that carries over to next year. So we've never run out of money for these kinds of things. I just want us to have a process that's transparent and flexible and fair to everybody. And I don't disagree that those bigger questions we need to be thinking about, but that's not what this is. This is this little process, okay?
I hope that didn't sound critical of you in all this, cause
No.
this is important, but, right,
No,
okay, thank you.
I don't wanna be here till 4 p.m.
Okay.
This process, I would like us to refine, right? And
Because
then,
of the bigger projects, people have come up to Gwen as chairperson of finance, I get it.
right, and they're like, well, I want this,
When
thing.
we give 50,000, do they belong here or to the
Right.
economic development?
So
Powell.
I was
I
gonna
think that's
say,
why.
totally agree with you, Cavell. However, all I felt Long was saying is that when we let them send in our proposals, probably ask more of a question and say, hey, are y'all getting donations? Which I'm not saying our staff don't. I'm not saying that they
Right.
just skipped it, but what donations, what sponsorships have you got? What prior commitments have you already gotten to this? What's the overall budget amount? And then what are you requesting from
Yes.
us? And at the same time, that then allows us to say, hey, cause we don't need to be funding some projects 100%. But even if we do, that's something that we as commissioners decide if we're gonna go that way or not.
Right.
But that's what I had got from just her. It's more of a, that one wasn't clear enough.
No, that one
And
wasn't
she
written
didn't
up right.
understand it and the lady had to clear it. So for our staff, that may be just another question we asked of what are any prior commitments to your event in the funding space? And break that down so we can be very detailed to know.
Right.
So that's how I took that.
I thought that one was written
Yeah.
very confusing, the
Yeah.
Troy one.
Right.
Yes.
So, flexible, fair,
Thank
Right.
you, Angie, you summed it up good.
Commissioner Smith-Charles?
That's all my point was.
Yeah, that's the thing that I don't quite get. I mean, there's a form that they fill out with those questions. I don't see me taking additional time to nitpick exactly what they're going to be doing. It says, are there any possible funding partners or matching funds available? What is the estimated cost of this project? What is the purpose? Who will benefit? I mean, it's in the form,
That's why I
first
said-
and foremost.
Secondly, as someone who's probably asked for about 7,000 total since I've been here, and other commissioners have gotten in excess of 100,000, there's no way I'm putting a cap on me anytime soon. And so I'm not gonna ask for a match from Royal Oak Township. I'm just not gonna do it. They're gonna get whatever I can manage to get passed in this committee. So as you can see, I'm happy with the process as it is, as long as, because back in December, a staff person told me, oh, everything's changing and now we have pennies to use as special project. And that's unacceptable, number one. Number two, who said
you know, who said that that was it? I feel like that's supposed to come from this body, and this is the first time we've talked about it. So 3 years, 4 years here, 7,000 special projects from District 17. I'm just getting started. So I've already put in, you know, conversations with Royal Oak Township, who reached out to me yesterday lamenting that they need help. And I'm not gonna go back and forth like a paddle ball trying to figure out, well, who's partnering and who's matching and all that stuff. Because this is not my full-time job. And secondly, the cities, villages, and townships are the ground floor. And as far as I was told, as long as it's a governmental unit, there's automatic checks and balances that happen. So as of now, I think we should just follow the process we have and be fiduciaries in that way. I mean, Bocce comes every year. I've not attended yet. All kinds of stuff, even the Taste Fest or whatever it is in Royal Oak. That's mega dollars going to that community, and the churches and stuff that are allowing people to park there for money. Maybe it could be in Southfield one of these years. It could be a moving tour as far as I'm concerned. So without getting out of the scope of this conversation, I just want to say, I just found out about special projects last year, and now it seems like the rug is being pulled just when I get started.
That's not the intention at all.
I don't feel like it's the intention, but certainly I don't think.
If that's the feeling you're getting?
Yes.
I don't feel that way. I have not seen, you know, a limit on any of this. All I'm trying to do is refine it so we understand it. And I too I would like us to be able to, as a group, say, you bring some Royal Oak Township thing and they really don't have a match for it, but it's a big need for them or a special need. I have no problem with us saying in this particular case, we wouldn't need a match. I mean, but I think the group should have the flexibility to be able to do that. That should be part of the process. So we just evaluate as a group, you know. But I don't want people to feel like they can't bring special projects forward. I want people to feel like they can.
Right.
They're just vetted by us.
And when I made the comment about the match, as a commissioner, it was something in my district that I felt like, because of the history that I knew with this event, that no, we should make sure that they can come up with the money prior to us. So I think that I'm holding that on us to make that decision as a commissioner in addition, not necessarily saying put it as a demand on there like, oh, they got a match. No, it was a case by case in my situation that I had thought about it. And just to be clear with you, Yolanda, I'm not saying that that's something that we should just put to every contract, no. It was just something that I was concerned with because I knew the history of the nonprofit, and I wanted them to make sure that they could come up with it because we don't have also no funds to be wasting. And they're not gonna send it back and then the event don't go off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was
No,
looking
that
at
was
it in
good.
that type of devil's advocate way.
That's good.
Just to
Right.
be clear, that's all.
That's good.
But you're right,
No,
because
that's
I'm gonna
good.
say
We shouldn't
this,
do it on
for
our own,
Pontiac, you absolutely right, like she said, Pontiac does get a lot of requests. But two, and I'll submit them, but I did have to tone down and be fair because it's 19 of us. And when when we have at least a budget amount, and that's supposed to be covered with all of us, I just thank God that some of us in our districts didn't use it, so I was able to get it. But I've been very fair with that to understand that, no, you know, we need to help in every district, and I'm okay with that, even though we got the major need, so, thank you.
Commissioner Cavell, and then Commissioner Rahman.
Okay, well, just to back you up, Angie, real quick, with you said need to be fair. I think one thing just to put out there is when we think about this, whatever $700,000 line item in the $1 billion, $7 million budget, it's like there are structural things that fund other places more than Pontiac. So like we just recently had the WRC talk to us about how if they had like 17 more houses that were middle class, Pontiac would be able to get forgivable grants instead of having to take out a loan that makes their water rates higher. So there are things like this, right, that like structurally and systemically, right, like I don't mean to get into a whole thing, but like the road commission you know, they have one road in my district, and I don't know if they have any roads in your district.
Not in a row.
So then that's the thing, it's just their $155 million budget isn't going to you. So just when you say Pontiac needs to get its fair share, it does, but that's not limited to the $700K in the budget here. Cause we got $1 billion and you divide that by 19, just to say it like that, is Pontiac getting its whatever share or whoever? Just to back you up that like, you know, you don't have to say that.
Thank you.
Commissioner Rahman.
I was just gonna add, you know, to Charlie's point, I don't disagree with what you said. I mean, we are a drop in the bucket compared to this gargantuan, you know, bucket that is Oakland County. But at the same time, I know that being stewards of these funds, I just wanna make sure that we are doing everything within our power to be as equitable, as transparent, all of those buzzwords that we can be, right? Because at least I can wrap my arms around this pot of 600, 1 million, whatever this number is, right? To me, even though we sit on the finance committee, I'll be honest with you, they come to us with the budget. I've only sat through one budget session so far, right, last summer. They come to us with the $1 billion budget and say, here you go. And to your point, Charlie, you know, we can make changes, we can add a person here, subtract something there. But by and large, it's not like we're really the stewards of that $1 billion. At least that's my feeling. If you all feel differently, I know we talk about priorities and all the things that we wanna do. But at the end of the day, I mean, things that were important to me like mental health, we haven't increased in 20-some years. You know, I talked to Chair Woodward about it, and he's passionate about it as I am, as I'm sure everybody here is. But at the end of the day, there's only so much wiggle room we have, right? So when it comes to doing all the things we want, the things that we stand for, we can do some of them. We obviously can't do all of them because it's not within the power of 19 of us to say, well, here's $1 billion, let's write checks out for wherever we think is most suitable. But at least this pot of money, I feel like we have a duty, a fiduciary obligation to make sure that we're as equitable, transparent, all those things as we can be.
I would also like to speak to the subject of pilots, right? And we've had a couple of these special projects that have eventually evolved into a regular thing that we didn't have to do year after year. And I'll pick on Charlie. The gun buybacks, which I love, don't get me wrong. I love the idea that we're doing this, and the response from the public has been amazing. But it could take our whole budget really quickly. And I do think it's something that, so we've shown proof of concept, it had some issues with it, we make adjustments, we've done 2 now, right? And it's gonna grow, and it should grow, and I hope it grows a lot. But I don't think it belongs long-term as a BOC special project. So we do a pilot, proof of concept, learn a bunch of stuff, and over time end up handing it off to somebody else who's better equipped to do this. Somehow I'd like some wording that talks about that. Because we wanna make room for good ideas, but we don't wanna take on something that's gonna swamp the boat for us, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And keep room available for future ideas and what we do. So I love the special projects because they're really living, you know, they're moving, they're changing all the time. We're seeing what works, what doesn't. So whatever we do, I want us to make this this process stronger, but still maintain its flexibility and the ability of commissioners to come forward with their events and get the support that they need. Commissioner Powell.
So you said over the years, it's always been set at the 300,000. And then when we got the COVID dollars, I know we shifted some money to kind of assist in that area. Who ultimately sets that original 300,000?
If I could just clarify on that, when we say that there's an established 300,000, that was just based on the previous year's projects. So it was the budget for every time a commissioner had a special project, they'd come to a committee, have their resolution heard, considered at full board. When we look at those projects for the year prior to that budget year, it was about 300,000. So that's really where that number comes from. It's not necessarily where someone picked a number out of the sky. It was, what projects are you doing this year? And so then next year you can sustain that, it's the 300,000 number.
Right, and I know when with the variance of amounts that we request, who changed that this year as well? Cause even though our chairman is saying we wanna leave that flexible, you kinda just ask what you want, but I was told that now, our projects can't exceed the 20,000. Who set that limit on there?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say, well, we have not established any limits per project, but the finance committee, through the adoption of the budget most recently, is the one who said that no longer will there just be $1 million set aside and then turned over to the general fund at the end of the year, what doesn't get spent. Instead, we're gonna have this, only the carry forward and that $300,000 amount. So that was really a finance committee decision during the budget process.
But that $20,000 discussion we had, where did that come from?
That I'm not familiar with.
I
I think we'd have
five only.
to speak with core leadership.
I don't know where you're hearing that number. That number doesn't come from me. I don't think it comes from the two mics. So it doesn't exist, okay?
It's 5 and then went up to 10.
If we did want to put a limit, it would be in this policy. That's exactly where we would go. And so just to circle back so far and in conferring with Tracy here, I know that we have a motion to receive and file this item. It'll come back to the finance committee for final adoption. I'll meet and sit down with each commissioner if you'd like, or even just give you a phone call to figure out what you're looking at. But just in the notes that I've heard, it may be that we have some discussions about language on a match, on district limits, and possibly some a definition on pilot programs. And it doesn't mean it's gonna be included in the next policy I show you. It'll just be that those commissioners make sure that I get them language that they feel comfortable with if they did wanna bring an amendment to the policy. But as of right now, I do wanna make sure that I convey that in 2021, this policy or process, as I really like to refer to it more as, was adopted by the finance committee as a 6 bullet points. It's very simple, it's just 6 bullet points. You'll notice this policy is just now 6 sections. So nothing has changed from yesterday to today. The only thing that we've done is try to define the process just a little bit better, and then Commissioner Markham did request that we add a definition section. That's really where the changes have come in, not changes, but the additions have come in. And so I can already hear from this conversation possibly a definition of pilot programs. But if you have other definitions that you think would be helpful while we're having these discussions, you can certainly convey that to me.
One more thing, because you already proactively asked those questions about the sponsorships and the prior commitments, is there any way on our application that we kind of emphasize that we really want to have that information?
Yes, absolutely.
Because, or, we don't, like Yolanda said, we're not gonna babysit them, but at the same time, it is something that we all would like to know. So, I don't know, they need to answer, they need to put something there, because again, they did send a half proposal, and it took for her to explain it versus.
Right, I was voting no
They was
until
about
she
to lose a
explained
vote
it.
just
She would have
not
put it on
in
the
detail.
application.
Yeah, and that was one where, again, I think Commissioner Smith-Charles is pointing out, it's on the application, we submitted, or we filled that out with Commissioner Lubes. Obviously, sometimes the commissioners don't have all the answers when they're submitting.
That's what I'm saying.
They rely on the people that are coming to present. And so.
See, I'm different. See, I send it to the people to fill out, you know that.
Yeah,
Even though I
that's
put the
good.
request,
Exactly,
I
yep.
tell them to.
I like that
We
better.
encourage commissioners to fill it out themselves so that way they can be here to really present it. But of course, we do have some
She needs to
commissioners
make
that
some
send
phone
it
calls.
to the representative.
She needs to make phone calls.
Just to say about that real quick, like the system worked today, right?
Yes.
Like Yolanda had said, just saying like, we are the ones that set the limits in that if someone came up to us and said, I want $350,000 for the Ferndale Fun Fest, you guys would say, Gwen has said, get the hell out of here. And before it even gets on an agenda, Mike will say, you're crazy before it even gets on an agenda. Dave will give you a call and be like, what the hell? So that's 3 steps before it even gets on an agenda. Then you come here and you go, well, let me see, what if I got away with 125? And then you all say no. So there's 4 steps that are just natural to the democratic process, like Yolanda said. And then second, the system worked again today because you said, well, we need to make sure there's clarification. I mean, not to be funny, but like Yolanda kind of said, like, read the freaking packet and then also ask the question. And then
But it wasn't in the packet.
Right, but then
so
you
I personally, like in the
and then
packet,
you got it
because if the
answered.
lady wasn't here, I would have had to vote no.
But then you got it
Because Penny
answered.
didn't know how to answer it
Right,
at
but then you
all.
got it answered.
Penny
and
answered
that's
nothing.
But you're trying to like plan for every
Right.
contingency on a piece of paper.
Right.
You gotta do your job and live your life, you know?
But if that person wasn't here, I would have voted no, because Penny could not answer one question that I asked. The
and
lady
that's
did.
fine. And that's
Right.
fine. And it all worked out. That's what I'm
Right, but
saying.
I just think we should get the information so
I
you
think
can
you're just
vote.
trying to
I think that you were right, it was cloudy.
It was, that application was terrible.
Right, and then the person was
I'm
here.
sorry, I'm gonna be honest, that was
And the
terrible.
person answered your question, so it all worked out. Like, so why put something on a piece of paper that then
Okay, but if the person's not here, we could have maybe all voted no.
Exactly.
And so I guess
Which
that's
has happened
Penny's
before.
fault.
Which has happened before. All right.
Yeah, okay.
Just saying, why
Time
you
out,
try to shoot yourself
time
in the
out.
foot?
Right.
Yeah. Yolanda, Commissioner Smith Charles, you had something?
Yeah, real quick, and I just was wondering, to that point about who fills it out. I know I've talked to you about that before, Mike, and personally, I prefer them to fill it out, but then it skips me because they fill it out, and then I'm like, don't submit it, and they're like, well, then what do I do? So just in terms of logistics, if there was a way to, I could be like, hey,
Yes.
township person, and then it comes to me for review, and then I can send it, and I feel like I would have better,
Yeah.
then I could be Penny answering the question versus not.
Certainly, just to speak a little bit to that right now, when the commissioner, or when we receive a form, obviously it goes in for introduction, and then that's where we kind of expect for you to have that notification. And then if there are any changes to it while it's in that introduction phase, before it gets to finance, certainly we can do that. And I can see us building in a process where maybe we even, more directly ask you for those edits versus just sending you the resolution for introduction.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I don't wanna be on lines and I
Thank
read
you.
back and I did it.
And it's just a receive and file. Okay. If there's no other discussion, do you have your direction?
I do have my direction. I do want to make sure I comment that Andrea in our office in your power, she is like the second person to the special projects. I just get them in front of you and hopefully, walk them through approval, and then she takes them over. So hopefully for those of you that have had them pass, you see emails from her and correspondence, know that, we're a team that are tackling these special projects to make sure that, to Commissioner Powell's point, when you do request a match at this meeting and say that that's something you think is important, we include in the contract that goes to that organization and is incorporated. So, and that's something we can certainly build into the policy as well.
Good. Okay. That being the case, we're just gonna receive and file it, and it will come back to us at some point when you've modified it up, and we'll approve it at some point. Okay, great. So prompt the vote, please.
Receive and file. Let's see if I get my vote.
Good discussion.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, I didn't get it either.
Thank you. We have 8 yeas, 0 nays.
Okay. Motion carries. Commissioner Weipert's telling me that 2 of those we can't count because
I don't know,
it's just a
can't say
receive and
yes all the
file.
time.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You gotta be here to vote.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do have to be here to vote. Charlie can't vote.
And Angela, you walked out too, so.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, our last item for today is public comment. Is there anybody who wishes to address this committee from the public? Seeing no one, I will close public comment. If there's no other business, I call this meeting adjourned at 1:12.
You guys have a good day.